what's up, fantasy people? This is Tyler, Big Turd Ward, and Jason, the lucky bastard Ethan Wolt, coming at you live from the West Coast. And this is the Fantasy Footballin' Show. Today's episode.
Who's like sick?
Oh my God. Jason's checking out his new microphone his wife got for Christmas. He was not really talking into it last time. I don't know if you noticed that.
We gotta adjust. We're learning here. We're learning.
Today's episode, week 17. Sunday weekend wrap-up, our weekend wrap-up show. So we're just picking all of the games that we watch with our own eyeballs, because Jason and I are both poor. My dad just hooked me up with the Spectrum app, but it really doesn't. It just shows me like bowling instead of football. I don't understand. He said I can watch all the football games. Thanks. So we're just
important too.
Yeah, I'm grabbing free stuff out of the airwaves. The government has to supply me for free. Jason's doing illegal stuff. We're doing what we can to watch, but this whole show is just going over the games that we watch with our own eyeballs.
Yeah. And then in off season, we're going to do fantasy bowling.
Everybody spins it with two hands now, Jason. It used to be a thing like on ESPN2, and now like I watch it on Spectrum and everybody's bowling with two hands. It's pretty crazy.
That famous video of that bowler who dropped the trophy. You ever see that? He like won and like they gave it to him. Congratulations. And he had it. And he's like, and then he dropped it and it broke. It's a famous video. That guy retired. You know that.
I thought I've seen the famous video of the guy like getting heckled by fans, and he starts crap with them. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm the man. Who do you know who I am? I'm the man. You know who I am." And he's just yelling, and he's like he looks like the biggest douchebag.
Well, stay in your lane.
Literally.
Big Lebowski, dude, best bowling movie ever.
Yeah. Well, hey, Jason, want to tell the public how they can help out this show, help out you and I?
Of course. And the best way to do that is to subscribe. We are getting subscribers recently, more frequently, and we're loving it. We're loving even the bots and the trolls that are commenting. We like to engage to them until we realize it's too late that they're just robotic. And then give us some likes too. We really appreciate it. All that is stuff that we need and that we enjoy. We also have an Instagram, the Fantasy Footballin' Show, if you want some more additional content.
Thank you, Jason. Yeah, we're saying bots. It's because I keep on getting the same comment on every single thing that gets more than 100 views. This video aged well, and it's like, dude, I was talking about the weather. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure those are fake people, but hey, man, if we're getting fake people to follow us, then we're doing something right, Jason.
Right. People are people.
Yeah.
Fake, robotic, organic, it's all good.
So I was texting you yesterday. So yesterday was, fantasy football championships. Some players decided to, show up out of nowhere and just blow the roof off. And some players, like even now, like, just like the Jaguars situation, it's like when you get to the end of the year, man, like these teams that are in it or not in it or having everything, hang on next week. Now there's an extra week and everything. Yeah, it's really screwing you over, kind of. So it's like more than ever, it's like you have to pivot off of people and pay attention to like the records of teams with this extra game. But I'm pretty sure you and I watched all the same games, right, Jason?
Yeah. The first game that I wanted to watch was the Broncos at the Chiefs. And that's just more because of the Chiefs, they have multiple players on their team that you're probably starting in the fantasy championship. And then I wanted to see on the other side for the Broncos, Russell Wilson, he had like one of his best games. He's had a horrible season, a terrible season, but one of his best games he had against Kansas City early in the year, I believe is week 14. Wanted to see if he was going to throw up some good numbers again, even though I'm pretty sure that 90% of the world was not having Russell Wilson in their lineup, because if they did, they probably didn't even make playoffs. With that being said, some players on the Chiefs you were likely starting in your championship game, and one of them would have been Patrick Mahomes. And I tell you what, this guy, I mean, just watching this dude like every game, I'm like, man, I'm going to get that guy so early next year, because all of the Chiefs do is throw the ball. They just throw. And he ended up with He was 29 for 42 with 328 yards. Mahomes, I believe he leads the league in most 300-yard games this year because there hasn't been many. He had three touchdowns and one INT that was a red zone INT, but he didn't even get sacked once, and he had 4 rushes for 8 yards.
Yeah, and I was talking to Jason about this. I saw the graphic on the screen pop up. He had like 30. I mean, going into that game, he had 30 red zone touchdowns. That leads the league. And so Jason and I were talking about, rankings and everything, because that's where my mind is right now. And Patrick Mahomes is the number one quarterback next year. You just look at, I mean, he doesn't have bad games. His bad games are like 18 or 19 points. Josh
Exactly.
Allen gets some 11-point games sprinkled in there and stuff like that. Josh Allen has, a lot worse weather, even though the Kansas City Chiefs do play in the cold. But as far as like, they don't even run the ball in the red zone. It's not like the Bills do either. But I mean, Patrick Mahomes, I mean, it's a big stat for your fantasy quarterback to lead the league in red zone touchdowns. Cause I mean, that means like there's no running game really. And if you watch that game, Jason, like, dude, Isaiah Pacheco right off the bat, it was like run, 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 run. And I was like, dude, he was killing it. I was like, wow, oh man, they're actually going to run the ball this game. Like Patrick Mahomes' floor is so high, it's ridiculous, and you are going to be picking him, number one quarterback next year by far.
Yeah, it started off good, right? Isaiah Pacheco, he had a touchdown, a little 5-yard rush, which is like, okay, so this is the game. This is what they do. They make you think like, oh, this is a game they're going to run the ball. No, Andy Reid is just tricking everybody. They're like, all right, we just want to make sure Isaiah Pacheco got his because now we're going to start throwing the ball. Um, and he did. They threw the ball, even when they were trying to just like kill time, they were like throwing the ball. It's very unfortunate for people who had it Isaiah Pacheco because that guy, he he's such like a quick and he's strong. Like what you've been saying, like a Kareem Hunt. This guy, when he gets tackled, he's the first one up every time and like running back to the huddle. He's just like, I want the ball. Give me the ball. I want the ball. He just runs over there. But then it's like Andy Reid's like, okay, we're gonna throw the ball for the next 30 times. But God, he's such a good running back, and it's like it's just unfortunate they don't utilize him as much. But and then you got Jeremy McKinnon coming in, and he takes most of the passing or takes more of the running back catching away from Isaiah Pacheco. And Jeremy McKinnon, he had 5 receptions for 52 yards, and he had 2 touchdowns on 6 targets. I was saying this in a video earlier in the week, is like this is a guy that you need to start in your championship week, and he put up like 19 points. And once again, like I said, they got down in the red zone. I think it was like on the 5-yard line, and they just did a design play for Jeremy McKinnon.
Yeah, man, and it's like you could see where as long as Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback of the Chiefs, all the value is going to be coming in the receiving game. Like, there's really no value, even if you're the number one. Like Isaiah Pacheco has been like the back as far as getting rushes for like the last like 2 months, and it hasn't really amounted to anything. So the one, the running back that actually catches the passes, Jet McKinnon's been like the number one running back in fantasy football pretty much over the last month and a half.
Yeah,
I mean, he won people championships yesterday. So, dude, Jarrett McKinnon, like, it's just, I'm not drafting Isaiah. I mean, I was all about Isaiah Pacheco, but like I said, sometime in the middle of this year, I realized that it's just, as long as Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback there, the running, it doesn't matter who's the running back, unless he catches passes. Like, I would draft Jarrett McKinnon, but I was telling you, man, like Jarrett McKinnon as a Vikings fan, like, he's usually been brittle and inconsistent. So it's like I didn't really want anything to do with Jarrett McKinnon. And if he wasn't catching touchdowns, you wouldn't want anything to do with him. But dude, he's been catching every. I mean, I was like 8 touchdowns in the last 6 games or something like that.
yeah, he's one of those players that like we knew he was on the Chiefs, but we didn't think he was going to be much of anything this year, especially since they drafted Isaiah Pacheco. And then when Isaiah Pacheco took over the role, we were thinking that guy was going to be the dude, right? But then Jeremy McKinnon was playing, I guess when he's healthy and he's not touching the ball 14 times, 15 times like he did in Vikings, he could say reasonably healthy. And he is a good catching running back, and he's pretty quick. He's a quick dude. You get him the ball and get him an open field and let him do the rest. And he's been more of the fantasy factor than Isaiah Pacheco.
8 touchdowns in the last 5 games. He only has 1 rushing touchdown in those games. And so that is insane, man. Like that's so freaking crazy. And I was telling Jason this yesterday. Like if the Chiefs want to invest, like I do like Kadarius Toney, but man, if they want to invest like in a big time wide receiver, like an actual red zone threat and everything, I would be all about it. Um, like, but you see, but the thing for Patrick Mahomes is he is leading the league pretty much in fantasy points, and he's doing all this throwing to running backs, and Kadarius Toney and Travis Kelce really hasn't had a good games in the last couple of weeks, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, for where you're drafting him, right, and what he's been producing most of the year, he did have 7 receptions for 43 targets on, or 43 targets, 43 yards on 10 targets. He didn't have a touchdown. He did get kind of a little injured in the game, but I don't think it's anything to look into. But when he was winning people's games, he was putting managers into the fantasy championship because he was putting up 100 yards, receiving and touchdowns. And so, I mean, if you look at the stat sheet, I mean, it's like kind of the average of what tight ends have been doing all year, right?
Mm.
But with Kelsey, what his value is, like he needs to be higher than the average, right? Because you got him in the third or second round. And the fact that, he only had 43 yards on 7 receptions, like, yeah, that's average, but um that's not why you drafted him. And that could have probably done worse. Okay, so the guy in our league, he has Kelsey on his team and he's playing for the championship. And Kelsey is one of the big reasons why he got there, right? And Kelsey didn't help him out this week.
Yeah, yeah, so that's true. But he is coming off of back-to-back 100-yard games. So in the playoffs, he got 10 for 100, 6 for 113. I mean, that if you're getting that from your tight end, I'd draft that first round, dude. And then he did have. I just noticed that he hasn't been catching touchdowns because like I mean, I went against him when he caught 3 touchdowns or whatever, 4 touchdowns, and the last 5 weeks 0 touchdowns. So I just think it's interesting that Patrick Mahomes. I think this is just more like of a shining point of Patrick Mahomes is still able to get all these touchdowns without Travis Kelce catching 1 in the last 5 games.
But where do you think those touchdowns are going?
Jared McKinnon. So I mean, it literally has gone to Jared McKinnon. Like, ooh,
There is still one more week for some fantasy leagues that play up to the last week. It's just crazy. I was in one of them one time and it drove me nuts. Um, so we got another week for Travis Kelce. They are playing against the Chargers next week. I think no, they're playing against the Raiders. They're in Las Vegas next week. I think they got pretty much well, I guess it depends on the game tonight, right? If the Bills
I was gonna say
lose,
they might lock it up. But it's worth paying attention to if it's going to affect their seeding at all. Because if it is, they'll play. And man, the Raiders have been having some amazing games lately to go against. So that'd be great. But yeah, like there's a chance so they just sit everybody.
I mean, other than that was not really going on. I mean, Travis, I believe, still led the way with receptions, and then it was Jerry McKinnon with 5, and then it was Kadarius with 4. But
Mm.
Kadarius did have 70 yards.
Yeah, I'm interested in Kadarius next year. I want to see what he does over the playoffs too. But like Patrick Mahomes, second round next year, high second. Um, what is it? Travis Kelce, first round next year, and then I don't know. Everything else doesn't really matter. Jarrett McKinnon, you're going to get late, but who knows what the running back situation is going to be next year.
Right.
And then
What's going to happen with Edward?
yeah, and then dude, Patrick Mahomes, he didn't get sacked. His offensive line is still playing really well. And then yeah, dude, watching Denver was like they did do a lot better. Latavius Murray looked huge, like huge. I was like, who is a 7-foot dude like running down the middle of the field?
He had two shoulder pads and playing in high heels, dude. That guy looked like a troll out there. He was huge. It looked crazy. I was like, damn, this guy just took some pro hormones over the weekend.
That's funny.
Okay, coach, I'm ready to play.
2 pairs of pads and high heel. He's like those desperate housewives that are playing with Dak.
Oh my god. Who flips a table?
But yeah, dude, like Russell.
Apparently she table in the first season. That's why They said it.
You know way more,
Anyway,
you know way more than I do. But Jason, you are the Jerry Judy owner. I was watching that game and I was like, oh man, Jerry Judy's getting a lot of balls. Then I looked at the stats and it's like, dude, 7 for 38.
I know he did 5 yards less than Travis Kelsey. He got 7 receptions on 8 targets for 38 yards. Looked like most of those plays were just kind of like line of scrimmage passes, see what you could do out of it, and he didn't do a lot. But some of his runs, I mean, he was doing the whole CD Lamb, like catching him. Other than that, like you would hope that just like Travis Kelsey with 7 receptions, you hope he's producing more than just 5 yards a catch.
And dude, Cortland Sutton caught that huge ball, man. I think he probably would have, I think that was a 60-yard pass. So he'd been over 100 yards, but man, they said he pushed off. That was
Yeah.
so dumb, man. I mean, that was so dumb. So that was huge. I mean, that would have been big for Russell Wilson and Cortland Sutton, but yeah, dude. I mean, watching Russell Wilson, he still doesn't look like a good quarterback. He just threw a couple accurate balls, like I was like, oh wow, he actually hit his target a couple times on that end zone touchdown to Albert Big O.
Yeah, I mean, he had one passing touchdown, interception. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. That would, if anyone had a start on this week, that definitely would help you out. 4 carries, 27 yards on 2 touchdowns. One was a 16-yarder, so
And
haven't
I
seen
wouldn't, yeah,
Russell Wilson do that in a while.
yeah, and I thought the Chiefs defense looked good. I did think that the Broncos defense really stepped up this week, but I mean for the first half at least. And then but yeah, I mean I thought the like what's his name was getting a lot of pressure. Like they said, he got 4 sacks. That Jones, man, was all in his face all day. Chris Jones.
Yeah. Um, Other than that, there wasn't really much fancy relevance for the Broncos. I do want to say though that the Patrick Mahomes, he did not get sacked once, but their guard, their offensive tackle Joe Thuney, I want to say his name is.
It's one of
He
their best
went out.
names.
He went out in the third quarter with an ankle injury,
It's not
so
good.
that's something to keep an eye on. I mean, they are going against the Raiders next week, and the Raiders couldn't even get a sack either. But that's something to look out for. And Sky Moore, who I was kind of getting impressed with during the game, I was like, oh, okay, this dude's got like 3 receptions. Looks like they're throwing it to him, and then he goes out with a hand injury. So I don't think there's much
Yeah,
care
he was.
about that.
I was like, man, who is that guy? I was like, I thought that was Jarrett McKinnon catching the ball. He looked dynamic, and it was Sky Moore.
I hate that his number is 24 because I think he's like a cornerback.
Oh yeah. Um. So, anyways, yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything going on. If just don't start anybody from the from Denver next week if you're playing some type of championship. Good news is they're going
Oh,
to be playing to win because all their interim coaches and stuff. But dude, I would not bank on any of this for another week. So
Broncos is going to be an interesting team to talk about when we are discussing next year's players to pick.
yeah. So Jason, next game, man, my Vikings got rolled.
Oh, man, what a I don't know what happened.
I want you.
Uh,
What were you looking for?
Going in this game, it was just like the Chiefs. I wanted to watch the Vikings because they had 4 fantasy relevant players on the Vikings. And then for the Packers, Packers are still fighting for a playoff spot. I think it was week 1 that they first played, and the Vikings won that game. They made Green Bay look like fools, and that was the beginning of like, why do we have Aaron Rodgers on our team? We should have got rid of him. Oh, fudge packer. Um, that was the whole start of that. Anyway, to go off of that game, I was really excited to watch that game. Those games are normally pretty well. I do know that Vikings, they normally start the game off pretty slow. So when I saw the things happening, I was even like, all right, well, they're probably going to tear it up here in the, right before halftime, second half. Yeah, they never did that. And I know there's teams out there that started Kirk Cousins, that started Dalvin Cook, that started Justin Jefferson, and they started T.J. Hawkinson in their league. Right? You had 4 players that you were playing in the championship this week, and they're going against a division rival. First off, you're already thinking Justin Jefferson is going to get his because that dude is just a beast, right? future number 1 fantasy draft pick for next year, 2023. 1 reception, 15 yards, 0 touchdowns on 5 targets. They could not get this guy the ball. And I bet you the guy in our league who's playing in the championship has Justin Jefferson on his team. So he got him 1.5 points.
Yeah. He had Jalen Hurts, Travis Kelce, and Justin Jefferson. And man, but I've had a league like that. I remember when Aaron Rodgers was having his best year ever, and he got me like 5 points in the championship. Sometimes it just goes that way, and it sucks. But I did notice that the offensive line was going in with some injuries on the Vikings, and then they lost, I think, their center, and then they were down to like their third string center, and then they lost somebody else. So like,
They went down to their third string center on like the first or second drive of the game, where they blocked the punt, got down to the goal line. I think it was like 1st and goal. They lost their center. They had to bring in the third string because the first string's already out. And they ran the ball with Dalvin Cook a few times, and they stuffed him. And I think they settled for 3 points, and that was it for the longest time.
Well, I don't like the Vikings defense or the Vikings offense as far as running the ball like all year, dude. Like it's been like 2/3 passing, 1/3 running. Like they give up on the run so easy. And and what's his name, dude? Dalvin Cook has been a dangerous play for. I mean, yeah, he's been like, I was just reading his little description. He's been a top back for fantasy back for the last 4 weeks or whatever. I'm like, yeah, dude, but like you could take out one huge play or like one touchdown or all this. He's been like very dangerous. And watching the games as a Vikings fan, like I would get Dalvin Cook like late second next year, dude. Like I wouldn't want his usage sucks in this offense. And like as far as running backs in general in this offense, I'm not really sure about it because the guy came from McVay. And you see how that's going. It's like they need a dominant offensive line to do it or something like that. And the Vikings do not have that.
Yeah, and how many times this year are the Vikings playing with the lead where they can run the ball?
Well,
they're playing catch up.
Well, they've been 11-0 going into this game in 1-score games, which is like an NFL record. So it's like not just Dalvin Cook's been like walking a fine line. The Vikings have been walking a fine line in general. It could have gone either way. And yeah, you see this game, dude. Like it really doesn't surprise me. The only thing that surprised me was that Alexander Madison got so much got so much opportunity, but that game was so far out of hand, dude. Like the Vikings made the playoffs, so they're not going to be running Dalvin Cook into something that they're not going to come back from.
Yeah. And with the quarterback, in the last 3 games, Kirk Cousins has been averaging like 400 yards throwing. So he's definitely getting people into the championship, thinking that he's going to continue on. Well, he was 18 for 31 for only 205 yards. He had 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. He was sacked twice, and he also had a fumble loss. I don't believe he even got over 5 points.
Please, God, get rid of just have him draft somebody, man, or somebody. I wouldn't mind Kirk Cousins going anywhere else. Go to Miami. I don't care, dude. And sorry, what was I?
Bring back Christian Ponder.
Oh, dude, I remember when I thought Christian Ponder was God's gift to football, man. He's like, did you see him at the Senior Bowl preseason? And then he couldn't hold it together. But man, sorry. Oh, I'm looking at KJ Osborne. I was going to tell you, I was like, for some reason, I feel like KJ Osborne's been on a little bit of a hot streak lately. 3 touchdowns in the last 4 games. He has that one huge game, but like watching, I think, remember we were talking about him taking over the Adam Thielen role like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it seems to be that case still.
Yeah, he's the slot receiver, looks like he's playing most of the time, but Kirk Cousins is liking him as a slot than Thielen outside and as a number 2. Yeah, Adam Thielen really just didn't have any relevance this year, and KJ Osborne's really kicked it up this year. And I don't know if he's on a lot of teams though, because he's not really a name. Not a lot of people will know about this guy, because for years it was like Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen, even Rudolph. But this guy is really starting to find his game. And
I thought I heard you throw up almost for a second. I thought I heard and I was, oh shit.
What? I did throw up.
I thought you said what?
That was little John. We got him back here.
What? Okay. Excuse me, ma'am.
Okay.
Excuse me, madam, but I think my plane is going to be late. Do you have any extra seats in the business section? What? What?
What?
Do you remember when
Oh,
he says that?
that was
When he
Dave
starts
Chappelle.
talking regularly.
Yeah. Starts talking. Norman.
Okay. Anyways, but yeah, dude,
Anyways,
I've been on KJ Osborne. He's been on my waiver wire thing for a while, but that's just because I'm a Vikings fan. So, but yeah, dude, he looks like Dalvin. Every time I think he catches the ball, I think it's Dalvin Cook running a route.
no, I think you should have him on your show, right? He's definitely a guy that should have been picked up. I I think a lot of people are going to be missing out on him because I think even in our league, he's still on waivers. He definitely could have been helpful for some teams in this past 2 weeks.
Heck
Like
yeah.
me, I wish I would have got him for the first round of the playoffs.
And I do want to say, this is my list. My number one fantasy football player next year, if I'm number one, 01, is still Justin Jefferson. Watching that game, dude, it was like that kickoff return and then a pick six. It was just like, dude, it just went downhill so fast. And like they just came back from that many points last week. I think it was just emotionally like not there. Like it didn't nobody seemed like they really wanted to come back. I don't know, Jason, if you were watching that, it was just like I feel like everybody just mailed it in really early.
Yeah, I watched it to a certain point. I think it's when AJ Dillon or Aaron Rodgers, someone, some rushing touchdown that someone got, and after that, I think it was like 40-3, and I was like, I'm over it. No, I
I
think it was.
actually fell asleep on my couch with my wife. It was crazy. I don't ever fall asleep during the daytime, and I did. So that's how
Well,
bad that game was.
Dalvin Cook didn't do much of anything either. 9 for 27, 2 receptions, 17 yards. But TJ Hawkinson, 7 receptions, 59 yards, and that's a little bit a point or two above the average. He got 12 targets during that game because Kirk Cousins was too afraid to throw it to anybody else, like Justin Jefferson. For at least a tight end perspective, that's okay numbers.
Dude, I mean, last two games, 12 targets, 16 targets with that 100 yards, 2 touchdowns last game. But man, he still has so many bad drops, man. Like watching that game, I got so upset with him as a Vikings fan. But if I'm playing just fantasy only, I'm targeting Hawkinson next year. It depends on I mean, I wouldn't because I'm gonna have Justin Jefferson, but um I think TJ Hawkinson is like a really good pickup for next year, especially if Kirk Cousins is still there. But I really, even if he's not, because if you get a new quarterback in there, it's tight end friendly. What did you just say, Jason?
Awesome.
I think I want to say that's Michael Scott. Awesome. You want to come back in here, Michael? Got Little John and Michael Scott.
I got this. I should mute
I totally
this.
agree with you.
Button. Okay,
I
good.
totally agree with you with that. He's definitely a better play for the Vikings than he was for the Lions. Even though the Lions are kind of killing it offensively this year. Kirk Cousins just likes to throw the ball to him more. I mean, he's a big boy target, man. He's a big boy guy. Throw him the ball.
And Jason, on the other side, if you're starting anybody receiving, you're probably only going to start Christian Watson, maybe Allen Lazard. Christian Watson going into this game didn't have a touchdown, last two games, hasn't had over 50 yards. So he's definitely like, people are figuring out how to play him, or they're accounting for him more than anything.
Yeah, well, he's also still making a lot of mistakes from what I could see. There was
Yeah.
even a play, I think it was last week, that he messed up. He went to go block when he was supposed to turn around and catch it for a screen. And so Aaron Rodgers did a quick throwing the ball, hit him in the foot, and they were talking to him about it. And Aaron Rodgers is like, if that dude doesn't want a touchdown, then or if he wants a touchdown, he's got to learn the plays. So they're still
Yeah.
learning. He is still learning, apparently.
Yeah.
He's
I mean,
still.
yeah, and I think he's almost like he's more than a Gabe Davis from last year. I mean, Gabe Davis, he was still the number 2 option, but going into next year, I think he's very interesting to pick up, like in 4th, 5th, 6th round type of stuff.
Christian Watson.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm almost even thinking a little bit later. But I
I mean, I
think
would too, but I know it's just like he's
he's
so
such
unreliable.
he's unreliable, but he's such a weapon. That's the thing.
Mm.
And it sucks for most people because, like, Christian Watson was probably the main reason why you guys even got in the fan or got into the playoffs, because he killed it leading up to the playoffs, and then when the playoffs started, I think what you said, he has no touchdowns in the fantasy playoffs, and his numbers and his points are 6, 7, and 1.5.
Yeah,
So he probably got you there, and then he probably destroyed you,
dude,
destroyed
and
your own
yeah,
self sabotage.
and one of my busts, I was laying all my bust out for you, Jason, that I drafted this year. Cortland Sutton, Michael Pittman, the list goes on. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I drafted. I thought AJ Dillon was going to be amazing this year, and he has not been efficient on the ground at all. But dude, last 5 games, he's had a touchdown. He has 6 touchdowns in the last 5 games. Interesting enough. So if you've been starting, you've been able to flex out AJ Dillon on a championship team pretty much for the last 5 weeks.
Yeah, he would probably be getting more noise if it wasn't for Ezekiel Elliott and his touchdown streak. AJ Dillon, because he's like another type of player where he's gone. It looks like, I don't know if he's got a lot of rushing yards in the past couple of weeks, but he's getting those touchdowns. So it looks like he is touchdown dependent, but he is getting the touchdowns. Um, the running game is just like so scary for the Packers, because you never know. Because like Aaron Jones, he went 14 rushes, 111 yards. He also had 2 yards on 2 receptions. But I think like the week before that, he didn't get much of anything, and he has
No,
like a hurt ankle. So it's just like, okay, they're too unpredictable right
well,
now.
AJ
Actually,
Dillon's, yeah, right. Well, AJ Dillon's been the person you could start, but he's touchdown dependent. And then Aaron Jones, like the last time I watched the fantasy footballers show, oh shit, shoot, fantasy footballers, I forgot what they're called. Um, it was like week 4 or something like that, and it was like AJ or and what Aaron Jones just had a huge game, and the guy I like from there named Jason was like, I would trade him right now, and they're like, and everybody else was like, I don't know, man, he's killing it. So I would trade him right now, peak value, and that was the right call, man, because Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon have been so inconsistent. I mean, yeah, AJ Dillon's getting you these touchdowns, but man, Aaron Jones was like started so promising and just fell off a cliff. But he does look good when you watch him. He still looks good, but it's just this offense, man, is just not happening.
yeah. I mean, they're on a win streak, the Packers, right? I mean, they are just finding wins, right? They're clawing it out. You didn't. Their defense had a huge part of it yesterday. I mean, Aaron Rodgers only had 159 passing yards and he only had 1 touchdown. So I don't know if a lot of people were playing that dude, but he's definitely did not win you any type of championship. You had a good game from Aaron Jones because he had over 100 yards rushing. There wasn't a lot going on. It was mainly just their defense, right?
Dude, like
That won
their
them.
offense from last year, like LaFleur and everything, it's polar opposite. So like, I mean, I guarantee a lot of it's Devontae Adams, but it's got to be more than that. You can't start anybody. I wouldn't want to start anybody from this team, dude. Like anybody, I wouldn't want to do it. So,
Yeah, I mean, even the quarterback, Robert, what's his name? Tonyan?
oh, they're tight end. You said they're quarterback, and I was like,
Oh, sorry. I didn't. Robert Tonyan.
yeah. I mean, he got that touchdown, but I mean, let me
First
look at
touchdown since like
stats.
week 4.
Mm,
So he was on anybody's roster.
he's like 1 reception for 13 yards, 1 reception for 4 yards, 1 reception for 10 yards, 3 for 20. That's the last 5 games. So it's like you literally can't start anybody from the Packers this year. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, and I did draft Aaron Rodgers on my team, and I ended up dropping him because he was only getting me like 15, 16 points. He's got some better games throughout there, but he is not the Aaron Rodgers of past of Christmas Eve, right? He's the 15, 16 point guy, and sorry, when you play fantasy football, you're kind of greedy. You want a little bit more than that.
He needs to move from the downers to the uppers, man. Like get off of
Yeah.
all the psychedelics. Take some Adderall and some cocaine, man. Go out there and let's get some 5 touchdown games, Aaron Rodgers. This is bull crap.
You don't
You're
want
not
any of
sure.
this
Yeah.
little
Oh,
stuff. This, what is it called? It's that
Iowa.
cocaine, man. You don't
Oh,
want it.
that's right.
Makes you play better. Makes sex feel better. Makes
Everything.
everything.
Is it addictive? That's the thing. It's not addictive.
The
All right.
cocaine.
All
All
right,
right.
guys. We got to take a short commercial break. We'll be right back with our last game to break down.
All right.
Later. We're back, Jason. I just did the favorite thing that you like to do.
I bring it in. You bring it up. I bring it in.
All right, guys. We are back from our break because we don't want to pay for Zoom Premium or whatever.
Hell no, man. What you got?
YouTube Premium, Zoom Premium.
Gas premium. What is going on?
What was it? Oh, Gas Premium. I thought you said.
Gas
I thought you said
premium.
ass, and I was like, yeah.
I got that at home.
Oh boy.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
All right.
Smooth and silk. Okay.
Oh god. Hey Jason, this is a cool
Yeah,
color scheme.
yes.
Cool color scheme on our next
The red and black and white. Gonna fight each other. The San Francisco 49ers at Las Vegas Raiders. This was going to be a blowout, right? I think that's what we all thought. This was the actual game that I turned to when I couldn't watch the Packers Vikings game anymore, and it was a really fun game to watch. Going into it, the global phenomenon, Brock Purdy. You want to see if he's going to put up fantasy championship numbers. This guy is probably on a lot of people's teams because he started becoming the thing when Kyler Murray went down. I had an option to get this guy. I passed. Anyway, also, you got some other fantasy people on there that are important, like McCaffrey and Kettle and Ayuk. And then, there's just like this random dude playing for the Raiders named Jarrett Stidham. His first start against the NFL's best defense, right? So this is going to be a blowout. And they also got some fantasy relevance with Devontae Adams and Joshua Jacobs I really wanted to watch for the championship. So with that being said, this game went into overtime. And I'm like, what am I watching right now? This was a fun, fantastic game. Starting on the 49ers, Brock Purdy, 22 for 35, 284 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He didn't get sacked once. I do want to say, I think he got around like 17 points, but he had like 2 or 3 throws that was just like, sometimes it's easier to be lucky than good, because he just threw him up there and somehow a 49er came down with it. And, that continued drives and that gave him more points. So this game, there was like a lot of pressures on the quarterbacks. Not a whole lot of sacks. I don't even know if there were any sacks, to be honest. Yeah, the Jarrett didn't get sacked either, but there was a lot of pressures that made it a big impact on this game. Unfortunately, when Brock was getting pressured and he was throwing up wounded ducks, like it just happened to fall down in the hands of 49ers.
Ayuk. That was crazy pass.
Yeah. That was intended for George Kittle. George Kittle was like wide open on the sideline, crossing field, play action. He was wide open. He was trying to throw it to him. He got hit. It just went falling. Blah, 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 blah. And Ayuk came down with it. I think he got it for a first down too, was able to extend the drive. That was actually, I want to say that was in the fourth quarter. They were getting down to kick a winning field goal.
Yeah. And so going into this game, I was always like, Brock Purdy, dude, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. If that's what you need, take it to the bank. So he actually threw for more yards this game, but there was overtime and he kind of needed to. But Christian McCaffrey is the number 1 running back going into next year. I was talking to you about that, Jason. And watching that game, dude, like that screen that he caught, I think at the end of the game, where he was just barreling people like through people, was crazy. Like that's what got them to, tie the game up again.
Yes, the last 5 minutes of that game were so fun to watch. Remember seeing that screen, and he's just going, trucking. He McCaffrey could just do it all. He could do it all, and I've known that since his college days because he used to do it against USC, which they're right now playing in the Cotton Bowl. I left at halftime. It was, I believe, 21-14. I can't get ESPN on this damn Vizio TV here, dude. I have it in the background. Anyway, there's neither here nor there. Christian McCaffrey, he's a great runner. He's a great pass catcher. He's still, in the good age for running backs. If he could just stay healthy, he's made a huge impact for these 49ers. I believe even if Deebo Samuels was healthy and Christian McCaffrey wasn't there, they wouldn't be as good because this guy, 19 carries, 120 yards, but also 6 receptions for 72 yards. That's around almost 200 yards from scrimmage, and this is when they needed that because this was an offensive game where they needed to get down the field. Christian McCaffrey was huge. He's been great ever since he's gone to the 49ers. He stays there next year, most likely. He's going to be your number one running back that you need to get from the draft,
Yeah,
especially behind that offensive line.
Yeah, and then I was trying to check out the receiving options for Brandon Ayuk and Kittle have been the number one receiving options, but Ayuk has been okay as of late. He's got a couple touchdowns last 4 games, but a lot of low yardage games. And then Kittle is the whole reason Kittle's been startable the last month has been because of Brock Purdy.
Right.
And
I'm really glad that you say that because in the championship, the guy had George Kittle, and I remember just going up against him early in the year, and George Kittle didn't squat. I ended up beating him. Now that George Kittle is on a tear, it's helping this guy to jump in the rounds and get to the championship. And he's going up against the guy who had Ayuk, who's also been doing pretty well for him for most of the season. But since Purdy came in, he hasn't been doing all that great. So he benched him. He's on his bench for this week, didn't start him. And if I remember right, he put up around like 20 points. So it was on his bench. He needed to use them. It's just one of those things, right? It's like, yeah, he's not really throwing the ball to Ayuk anymore. It's more of a George Kittle type of offense with Deebo Samuel out. But sometimes you're just unlucky because if you follow the numbers, follow the stats, I would have done the same thing. Like Ayuk, this isn't the Ayuk play here, but ended up getting his.
Well, if you had the balls to start Kittle, man, like your first week, because he's coming off of nothing. Like he's been unstartable pretty much for a while, and then going into first week of playoffs, 4 receptions for 93 yards, 2 touchdowns. Next week, 6 for 120 and 2 touchdowns, and then championship, he got you at least a touchdown. So yeah. I would not be surprised if George Kittle is on some championship teams, on quite a few of them actually.
Yeah, Kittle likely got you over 10 points in full PPR. In our league, he got 10 points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I would have loved. I love that from our tight end, especially from this year. Yeah, Purdy likes Kittle, which you should because George Kittle is a good. Oh my gosh, he's a good tight end. I was like, what position does he play?
He's the people's tight end, Jason. I watched the commercial.
Yeah, he loves that wrestling too.
Yeah, so it's just really, I mean, Christian McCaffrey has lived up to everything. And it's like you kind of wonder if he would have been getting the same points over there in Carolina, but I'd much rather have him on the 49ers. And he's been like the main dude, almost getting 20 carries a game almost every game.
Yeah. Mason didn't get hardly any carries, but ended up vulturing a touchdown. Was it 2 for 13 and 1 touchdown?
It was right after that screen, I think, that amazing screen that Christian McCaffrey took, like 60 yards or whatever it was, 38 yards, it looks like. And but I okay, so like, yeah, whatever. And Brock Purdy, I think I have it on my phone, but like he's got like a passer rating of like 112. He's like the first quarterback to do that ever through his first 4 starts. But watching that game, dude, like he totally underthrew Kittle that one ball that should have been intercepted, or was it intercepted? And like he had some just kind of bad throws. His arm strength, like when it comes down to deep passes, like he's still just kind of like keeps everything tucked in and does like a quick release. Like he doesn't load up or anything, and it's like always underthrown. Like I don't know if it's his mechanics, but he needs to like actually get into his deep passes from now on.
I totally agree with you, and that's a good point that you brought up, Tyler. Because watching the game, you were seeing a lot of like it wasn't the best Purdy, right? Like he had some good throws. He ended up 284 yards. He had to throw the ball 35 times, but there were some throws out there. Like he had some interceptions that were dropped. He had some bad throws, and like that's when you kind of see it's like maybe that's why he was Mr. Irrelevant, right? Maybe there is some techniques that he has that he needs to get better on. Especially one of them is the deep balls.
Yeah, and he's supposed to be really good with his eyes, but I forget what it was. He actually stared down the commenter made a comment about it, but he actually stared down the wide receiver, and it didn't allow George Kittle to do his thing. So like this his strengths are I mean, I don't know if defensive are starting to figure him out, but I still think that the 49ers can win a championship with him. Like he's still going on a magic run. This is like not quite Kurt Warner or anything, but he's doing pretty
Yeah.
good. It's still, dude. He's like throwing 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's got like an interception, I think, like most of the times. And then watching Jared Stidham was almost like a mirror image, dude. Like I couldn't really tell who was better, looking at those two.
Oh my gosh, he was so fun to watch. I was just like, "Who is this guy?" Right? He was drafted by the Patriots. I think it's his like fourth year. This is his first start, and he's going up against the number one defense in the league. Threw the ball 34 times. That's only three more times more than Purdy, but he had an additional 80 yards. He had three touchdowns. He did have two sacks, but he also ran the ball seven times for 34 yards. He looked good. He looked
Mm.
real good, and I'm just like, dude, this isn't looking good for Derek Carr.
Yeah,
Uh.
that first touchdown throw to Waller, it was like a rollout, and then you just hit him right there in the hands. But a lot of the
Baller's
other
back.
stuff, yeah, and then but the other stuff was lucky. And that the most impressive throw he did was when he waited for Devontae Adams to do that second move, and then like Hafanga or whatever his name is for the 49ers hit him in the mouth, but he had to wait until the very last second and threw it anyways.
As a little scramble play, right?
Yeah, I thought that was the most impressive thing. So I thought if you go to the right offensive coordinator, these people can actually look pretty good. The thing is that Jared Stidham's been in this system for 4 years, like you said. Brock Purdy's Mr. Irrelevant this year.
Mhm. Uh, with that being said too, I don't think anybody started him in their fantasy championship,
Oh
which
heck
looks
no, not against the number one defense.
I know, which is I bet some people are kicking themselves for that. I know we had somebody in our league had Josh Jacobs in the championship, and he played him. He ended up getting a touchdown, 17 yards or 17 carries, 69 yards, one touchdown. He also had four receptions for 26 yards. He got you over the 15-point mark, I think. Yeah, somewhere around there. But good numbers. Those are good numbers that you would want from a running back over 15 points. It was probably one of those games where you're just like, give this guy the ball. He needs to get more opportunities because he usually gets the ball a lot more. But I guess when they were just like airing it out and doing well, they kind of were letting other people come in. But he got that touchdown. He got that Devontae Adams had that amazing catch there in the fourth quarter, at like 50-yarder where he like dove. I mean, it was great. God, Devontae Adams is so good. And they were able to get down to like the 1 or 2 yard line, and Josh Jacobs was able to run it in and probably help some fantasy managers there in the late afternoon.
Yeah, and watching that game, okay, so it's funny because I was talking about Christian McCaffrey being the number one running back next year. Well, the number one running back this year per game is Josh Jacobs, and they win against each other. But it's just, like you don't have to worry about Christian McCaffrey going against the 49ers defense ever because he's on the same team. But watching Josh Jacobs, I can see why. I mean, dude, he just keeps on going, man. And then like they set up a lot of screens for him. Like all of his like I think all of his receptions came on one drive. I don't know if you noticed that. Thought I was watching like the replay or something, but it just kept on coming and coming. But I think Josh Jacobs, depending on how the quarterback situation and stuff next year is, but I trust Josh Jacobs in Josh McDaniel's system. I didn't want anybody in Josh McDaniel's system because of because of what I've seen from his system, just being totally unreliable on a workhorse running back. But dude, Josh Jacobs is a workhorse running back for Josh McDaniels, and I would draft him high second, low first next year.
So is because the one thing that I've always had concern, or at least for this year, I've been very frustrated with Josh Jacobs just because this is like his fourth or fifth year, and it took this long for him to actually be someone like everyone's keeping an eye out. this guy was a huge deal coming out from Alabama, I believe, to the Raiders. And it was like, you always want Alabama players, and we were waiting for this, right? This was the year that we were expecting like 4 or 5 years ago, and it just sucks because now you got to the point where it was like people were starting to be like, oh, it's Josh Jacobs here. I'll get him in like the fourth round, the third round. But then he goes up and puts up first round numbers, and that's like the concerning part for me. But you believe it's because of like the Josh McDaniels?
Oh well, I mean, I've always liked Josh Jacobs, but he always gets injured. The way he runs is great. It's just they never really ran the ball that much with Gruden. But no, just like I think it's the only reason I'm thinking Josh McDaniels is so high next year is because I'm looking at the list of running backs next year. I was going through it with you, man. It's like
What
everybody's
list?
old. The list.
Yeah.
I go to
No,
the first.
I know. I mean, I'm just saying there's what running backs? Like we got Christian McCaffrey and who else?
That's what I'm saying. So it's like as
Yeah.
far as like established running backs that you can draft early next year, there's not a lot of them. That's why like wide receivers are going to dominate next year, early rounds. But like as far as like if you have to pick and choose, man, like Josh Jacobs is up there. I think he was 26 years old. I hope he's not 28, but I thought he was 26.
He might be
Um,
26. I don't think he's been in the league that long.
oh, dude, he's 24 years old. That's right.
24 years old. Yep. He's just a young buck.
See, the thing is though, dude, he was killing it, getting 20 yards. I mean, his is all about opportunity. If I can get a running back that gets that much opportunity, that's great. But the last, like in the playoffs, dude, 22 carries for 90 yards. That's not that great. 15 for 44. But that was New England, Pittsburgh, San Francisco. This fool's schedule for the playoffs probably was the worst for any running back. So if you had him, you probably saw that coming up.
He still got you 15 points in the championship, first round of the championship.
Yeah, so I mean, like last time he went against a decent, like not a really very good run defense, he went 26 for 144 and a touchdown against the Chargers. So like I think that his schedule is tampering him. Like people aren't going to really want to draft Josh Jacobs next year, but when you start looking at the list, man, it's like, dude, Derrick Henry is going to be 28, 29,
I
and
know. That dude gets
Alvin
300
Kamara is not there anymore. And all this stuff. It's just, that's what I'm saying. Like it's scary when you start looking at the running backs that you're going to choose next year because most of the running backs this year were bust, like literally. So it's crazy.
My first round running back was a bust, and Joe Mixon.
Javonte Williams, I drafted second round, and it's like, dude, I'm not drafting Javon. I don't want anybody on the Broncos until I see otherwise.
Yeah.
Unless they just.
Oh, I can't wait to do those videos.
Yeah,
We're gonna
we'll be doing that soon because that's where my mind is right now is just doing fresh rankings. But I do want to say Foster Moreau. He was on my waiver wire stuff for a long time. He actually looked good, but he's nobody that you want to get while Darren Waller is still playing.
So now Darren Waller, 3 receptions, 72 yards, 1 touchdown. Is he someone to eye for next year?
I'm never picking up, dude. I owned Darren Waller last year and maybe the year before. And I mean, he's got 2 touchdowns in the last 3 games. But I'm never owning Darren Waller, dude. I would much rather just wait till the last round and roll the dice on that. I'm doing that pretty much regardless next year, anyways, unless I can get Kelsey. I'll have to look at tight ends, but even Mark Andrews, he needs a lot of things to be right for him to do well.
He actually did. He had a decent game. He got over 10 points.
Oh, Kelsey,
Mark
Andrews, yeah.
But
thinking,
he didn't. I know Mark Andrews didn't get you into the championship because his points were just did not do too well, especially with Lamar Jackson out. Darren Waller though, he did look pretty good, but even this year he missed time because of injury. He's very injury prone, and it's like, am I going to waste a early draft pick on this guy? I am not.
And then Jason, last thing is Devontae Adams. Is he in your top tier of wide receivers? I think we were talking we want to go a little bit younger in our top tier.
Yeah, but I mean, I do want to go younger, but he's so damn good. His route running is awesome. His route running has been great since his first years with the Packers, and then his catching ability has always improved. He is so good, and it shows like it doesn't matter what quarterback is throwing him the ball. Just throw him the ball. He's done well with Aaron Rodgers, obviously, Derek Carr, and then Jarrett. Uh, I don't think there's if you could just have a quarterback, you could draft a quarterback and be like, hey man, just 16 times a game, just throw it to this Devontae Adams guy, and he'll do the rest of the work. I think he could be a top tier again.
Well, Derek Carr, dude, yeah, I know. Well, Derek Carr was just not doing it for him against the Steelers in New England, but I mean you're going against the Steelers in New England, so that's tough. But yeah, I think that Devontae is probably in the first high second round. But he
Yeah.
is like I do have like Justin Jefferson. I would still rather have Tyreek Hill and Jamar Chase over him. I think Jamar Chase over him because I'm like I said, youth, and I know that Joe Burrow's there. Like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are attached for a while. So it's just that kind of stuff. But Devontae Adams, dude, first round draft pick next year, and he lived up to his bidding, his ADP this year, even though the last 2 weeks have been terrible. But I mean, look what you were getting all year long, dude. It's like he got you some good like high placement.
Yeah, and then he got you the points to win the championship.
Yeah,
Or
if you made
third.
it there, because he was doing pretty dang bad the last 2 weeks, surprisingly.
Well, that's more of a Derek Carr.
Wow.
Honestly, I didn't expect Derek Carr to only get 5 points against that Pittsburgh secondary, but Derek Carr, right?
Well, if you're playing in the championships, yeah, and if you're playing the championships next week, or whatever scheduled for this week, I think the Raiders will still be playing hard, even though I think that they needed to win for them to have a chance at the championship or to make the playoffs. But I don't see them packing it up. So,
Well, the
especially with
Raiders
Jameis
play
gone.
the Chiefs next week.
Oh, that's right. So, I mean that's a huge divisional game for them, anyways. So, I
And
think
49ers play the Cardinals next week.
yeah, and the 49ers, dude, if people need to check on the 49ers because if they have it, if that doesn't matter, if their seating doesn't matter, they will not care about the Arizona Cardinals. They will just
Right.
start their third stringers and
Yeah,
probably
they'll
still
probably
win
what?
and probably still win.
Probably still win. I know. I know. One thing to look at though during that game, Aaron Banks, their guard, went out with a knee injury
For the 49ers.
for the Niners. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
well,
next game or just to keep an eye on Seattle because anytime any lineman, especially for the 49ers, they have like one of the best line in the league. But when someone goes down, there's a huge drop off from the starter to the second string. So
yeah,
just
Trent
something.
Williams. Yeah, if Trent Williams wasn't on that team, they would not be nearly as good.
Oh, he's so good. He's so good.
All right, Jason. Well, I think that's all I have.
Same Z's.
Hunter Renfrow caught a touchdown last week, and you're kind of wondering if that was going to continue with the new quarterback. No.
No, he only had like 2 receptions, I think.
Yeah, 3 for 19. But last year, dude, he got people championships almost.
Yeah.
With Derek Carr, and
Yeah.
I thought maybe he was going to continue doing that, but nope. Anyways, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
We still got some stuff to go over, Tyler.
Oh, okay. Then what? Tell me. Hurry up. Tell me what you
Yeah.
got.
We got like 10 minutes still, right?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. So let's go. Let's talk about some players who probably won you championships or maybe could have won you championships, but destroyed your team to the championship. Number one, Mike Evans, 10 receptions, 207 yards, 3 touchdowns. He got 51 points in our league. We were talking about this yesterday that he killed it, but he also is probably the reason why you didn't make the championship, so it doesn't even matter, right?
Yeah.
You got like a high draft pick on this guy, and he got 1,000 yards too, but the touchdowns have not been there this year.
So in the 2 of the last 3 years, Mike Evans have scored 40 plus PPR points in the championship week, which is pretty crazy. So
That's why you draft him.
you draft him just to play, and if you can make it to the championship. And then Tom Brady came out with the video being like, "Oh, if you benched Mike Evans in the fantasy football championships, then you've got problems, or I don't know how you're gonna sleep." But I forget what he was saying, but it's like, oh, you need to go take a long look at yourself in the mirror. And I'm like, dude, have you been paying attention to Mike Evans? Like, you're his quarterback.
Yeah,
Shut up, dude.
like, he's the reason why I'm not in the championship. Thank you, Tom Brady.
It's like, dude, I'm not even in the championships because I have Mike Evans. Thanks, dude.
Speaking of Tom Brady, if people were very loyal to him and wanted to hold on to him for the whole year, uh, he put up 432 yards, 3 touchdowns in that same game with Mike Evans, 46 points. He was on the bench in our championship game just because of the matchup and just because Tom Brady and not performing as well. But if people played him, he probably helped you win a championship.
And then Daniel Jones, dude, 36 points, threw 2 touchdowns and caught 2 touchdowns and ran in 2 touchdowns.
He
Um,
who's starting that guy though?
I told people not to start him, but I actually liked his wide receivers, Richie James and that Isaiah Hodgkins, because Isaiah Hodgkins just catches touchdowns. That James has been getting hyper targeted, and both of them actually caught a touchdown and yards. So
Yeah, they both caught a touchdown.
that
Um,
worked out.
and that's going to be something said about later in this little list. We just went over Devontae Adams. He got 34 points against the 49ers. This next one, Austin Eckler, 10 rushes for 122 yards. What's going on?
Are you looking? Did you go to ESPN and just go to like the highest scoring people from yesterday?
Oh yeah, that's the easiest way
Okay,
to
because
do it.
I was like, how am I going to do this? And that was the first thing I thought of. And then you started going down the same list.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. Just see who scored the most points, and if like there were players that probably were in championships, whatnot. Austin Eckler, 10 reception or 10 rushes, 122 yards, 2 touchdowns. He got 33 points. He also had 4 receptions for 39 yards against the Rams. He had what, like a 80-yard touchdown, 70-yard touchdown. Um, so this guy, you drafted him early, and he wasn't in the very beginning. In the first couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks, he wasn't really performing all that great. He started getting the touchdowns. I think he has like 18, I believe 18 or 19 touchdowns this season, which is great. I mean, he just hasn't really been producing a lot of rushing yards, but he's getting the receptions. He's always getting the receptions. He's probably a guy that did help you get into the fantasy championship, and he probably helped you win it too. Was it last year? He had over 20 total touchdowns too, didn't he?
Yeah. So we thought touchdown regression was coming for Eckler, and that looked like to be the case the first, like 5 weeks. Everybody was trading him
Yeah.
away, panicking. But then the targets and the touchdowns came, and I think he caught 101 balls this year, which broke LaDainian Tomlinson's record. And if you remember LT, dude, go back and watch LT.
Yeah, I sometimes still go watch his highlights because he was crazy. So it's like one thing about the Chargers that you need to know, apparently, right? Because this is what's been going on all year. If they get it down to the 1 and 2 yard line, it's either going to be a rushing touchdown by Austin Eckler or it's going to be a receiving touchdown by Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
So next, this is a guy that after watching this, I'm like, dude, I'm going to get this guy in the second round next year. And it was Mr. Patrick Mahomes going against Denver. He 328 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He got you 25 points against that Denver's supposedly great secondary. Patrick Mahomes, he's definitely one of the reasons why you got there because his floor is so high, and he continued on, he got you 25 points, likely help you win the champ. He got you to the championship and likely help you win the championship.
Well, yeah, dude, that's what I'm saying. Patrick Mahomes, top. I mean, he's going to be the top quarterback on my rankings next year, and should be just because of his consistency and his floor. And then
Yep.
Travis Etienne Jr. is an interesting one because he had 25 points. Etienne,
Yeah.
and he's only 14th, running back, but it's like he has like games where he like 4-week stretches where he just absolutely dominates, 3-week stretches where he absolutely dominates, and then he'll just go get injured because he is a slight build and everything, but you want a piece of the Jaguars. So like I'm thinking next year, man, I probably still wouldn't draft him until like 3rd round or something.
Right. He's going to be my number 1 running back next year.
Oh, I'd be all about it, dude. Like that's the type of people that you don't need all these I mean, yeah, it'd be great to have Christian McCaffrey, but other than that, dude, like I don't know if anybody else I'd want to just risk over these like guaranteed wide receivers that get 15, 20 points a game.
Yeah, he's actually Travis Etienne Jr. He's actually on the guy on our fantasy championship team that we saw. He was actually the only dude that performed, unfortunately, this week, and he got 24 points against Houston, nine carries, 108 yards, one touchdown, three receptions for 32 yards. He got that in the first half. They pretty much, took him out in the second half, so he could have got more, but he got you 24 points in the championship round.
Um, I'm looking right here. Yeah, well, and then I noticed that Amari Cooper has, he's been not been doing well with what's his name, Deshaun Watson. He was killing it with I mean, he was amazing with Brissett. But
Right.
ever since Deshaun Watson got in there, it's been 6, 5, 7, 10. And then he caught two touchdowns. Only three catches, dude, but two touchdowns and 100 yards.
Yeah, he had to do some maneuvering to get those touchdowns with those three receptions, but he was also in our championship game, and he ended up getting 24 points against Washington.
How, would you want him next year? I would want Donovan Peoples-Jones next year.
I don't know. I'm going to have to see. Hopefully they're on Hard Knocks or something, so I can see them throwing the ball at Amari Cooper, because you would think Watson would be going after Amari Cooper.
Mhm.
So we're gonna have to wait and see about that. Next, Jarrett McKinnon. He got you 19 points, and he was probably a late starter. He probably maybe wasn't on many teams to get you into the playoffs, but he definitely had you give you some playoff wins and likely the championship. Again, 19 points. Um, and I went and looked at him in our league, and he was on the bench. He's been on the bench all year. Person wasn't even starting him. It was very frustrating. Number 10, I want to look at the very last one for fantasy helpers was Raheem Mostert. He had 9 carries, 29 yards, but he had 8 receptions, 62 yards, one touchdown. He had 18 points against New England. If somebody started him, it was likely as the flex or number 2, and he got that person 18 points in the championship.
Okay, so AJ Brown, Jason, he's young. He's
Yes.
attached to Jalen Hurts. Are we wanting? He's number 5. He got 97 yards, touchdown, 100. He's got 100 yards, 180 yards, 70 yards, touchdown, 120 yards, two touchdowns. Is he somebody we want over Devontae Adams next year?
Yeah, I would get him. Oh, gosh.
So I think that's where the line is. I think that AJ Brown is probably the very bottom of that young tier, especially because you know what kind of quarterback he has.
Yeah.
But I mean,
AJ
that's
Brown.
that's gonna be it right there.
AJ Brown is like this generation Julio Jones.
But I'd rather have Tyreek Hill over AJ Brown. So,
Oh, me too. Just because he gets more yards, and you know what? It's pretty tough because like for Devontae Adams, he's like the main guy. If you look at everybody else's receptions, like they don't even compare to like the amount that Devontae Adams has. While on the Eagles, with their tight end healthy, go dirt. They ran the ball a lot more. Miles Sanders had his best year this year, and then Devontae Smith and AJ Brown. Jalen Hurts really likes to pass the ball around. I think Jalen or AJ Brown is still great, but maybe Devontae Adams just because he will get more targets and receptions than AJ Brown. I would
oh
like to
yeah,
see AJ Brown more touchdowns. When the Eagles when they get in like the goal line, they are a run first team.
and no, exactly. And so Jason, as far as underperformers here, I went to projections, and then I'm just looking next to projections. Kirk Cousins right off the bat, dude, 7 points he got you, and then Justin Jefferson, he's got you 1.5. He was projected 19. The Trevor Lawrence dude got you 4 points, but at least Trevor Lawrence is like you kind of expected this. I mean, there was the warnings there, but man, the
Yeah,
Vikings screwed people over in the championships, man.
yeah. That's since I had Murray and he got injured. The person I picked up instead of Purdy was Trevor Lawrence, who's been killing it. But going into the championship, if I had to play him, he would have got me 4 points. So it's just sometimes that's just the way the line. And you know what? This is what the NFL league wanted to do. They was it a couple like 10 years ago. They actually changed the schedule to make sure that teams are still trying to fight and win games at the end of the year to keep it more interesting. Keep viewers wanting to watch football. So they made them like more divisional matchups towards the end of the year. And because of that, that actually hurt people who have Derrick Henry and they have Trevor Lawrence, because this week's game didn't matter. It was basically a bye week, and it's not until next week where a lot of people don't even have championships next week and where they're going to play. So with that the case, Trevor Lawrence would have screwed me over with getting 4 points. Saquon Barkley also only had 6 points.
I do want to say
Daniel
about,
Jones.
I do want to say about Saquon Barkley is I was thinking as soon as I saw his name, I was like, he's one of the running backs I'd actually want next year, but I'm not going to get him because I'm going to go wide receiver. But he's a young running back in the Brian Daboll offense in the second year. I would like that.
Yeah, I would like to get Saquon Barkley, but I would wait till the third round. But I also know you would get him before me in the third round. So so I likely wouldn't be able to get him. Also, everyone made a huge deal about Miles Sanders this year. Miles Sanders in the championship only got 6 points. Also, Jalen Hurts was a big reason why people got into the championship, and he has not played in 2 weeks with an injury. So those were like the little duds. There's people that can also get you there and they can also break your heart. Tyler's talked about that happened 1 year with him and Aaron Rodgers. This is just the unlucky part of fantasy football, right? Especially people like Jalen Hurts and Derrick Henry. You would want them to play. Those are your big guns, and they didn't play, which probably also hurt your team. Could have possibly ended in a loss, maybe.
Well, shout out to Jared Goff, man. Like if you were looking for a quarterback and you actually rode with him, because I thought he looked amazing. I can't remember when it was, if it was Thanksgiving Day when I watched that game, and I was like, holy crap, dude, like Jared Goff looks good. He's been like over 20 points every week since then.
The Lions have 30-point or 8 30-point games this year, and that's tied for most with the Buffalo Bills.
Right. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, dude. I still I know that I think he is a second or third round draft pick next year, because I'm just talking about Jared Goff, but I am disappointed in Amon-Ra. I thought he was going to pick up, I thought he was 100 yards and touchdown every game, but not the case.
Yeah. The heartbreakers, the studs, and the duds. That's all I have.
All right, man. Well, that was fun. Hey, if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. We're going to continue on with this. I know that, this is technically the end of the fantasy football season. Jason just got us into a fantasy playoffs league, and we'll explain that later on. And, it's pretty popular, so we'll just go over that and share who we like and stuff like that. But I'm going to be making all my rankings soon. And so those will be videos. And, we've got football pure football until after, the Super Bowl. And then after the Super Bowl, we will be talking, football and sports in general. So if you like sports, subscribe, and we will be here for you.
We do this for you guys. We don't even like this.
You know how hungry I am? I actually am really hungry. I got to cook right now.
I'm so starving. I'm thinking about getting Baja Fresh.
I should have just not. I don't want to cook. I should have got fast food or something, but I got to make that spaghetti so I can afford a car, Jason.
Word. I get that.
All right, guys. Thanks again. 1 minute left. But hopefully I come out with my waiver wire show soon, and be sure to watch that. So catch you on the flip side.
Yeah.